Now, see yourself in nature has always been a weird one for me because it's always like it can tell because the main gist of it is to be your authentic self regardless of the situation, right? Be you, be your authentic self. Go back to what's natural to you. Go back to the natural, which is you. And it's never necessarily saying that, hey, go outside, touch the grass, and it's good to do those things, right? For some of you guys, if you guys have earthly placements, but I feel like mostly what it's saying is that you have to see yourself in a particular area that doesn't alienate you from the world, if that makes sense. See yourself as if you were seeing someone that you were interested in. Consider yourself as someone that you wanted to understand a little bit deeply. And would you prefer someone that would just try to be a version of themselves that wasn't authentic to themselves, therefore you couldn't really connect with them? Or would it be easier for them to just be who they are so you can be able to figure out if they're the right person for you in the first place? This is the same sort of concept, right? No longer allowing yourself to, or not necessarily, rejecting yourself, or really, not how do I say this? Pretty much like see your needs as something very important, right? See yourself in nature. Be your authentic self and understand what you need as a person, as you. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? If you're an introvert, maybe spend less time outside and go within. Go inside, right? Or spend more time with yourself if you're an introvert. But if you're an extrovert, spend more time with people, right? You treat yourself as though, not just as though you matter, but, just be yourself and be aware of what yourself is trying to tell you. Now you also have to be patient as well. And I think it's saying too, like, when you focus on yourself, back to see yourself in nature, right? When you focus on yourself, that does give you time. It'll give you a lot of patience because you're assessing and taking care of your needs. When you're always looking at the future of thinking of things of the things that are coming into your life, or things that are changing, things that are adjusting and taking their time with changing, because of course quality over quantity, right? It's important to kind of, take care of us in the meantime. Take care of us while we're waiting on something, while we're waiting on a message, while we're waiting on somebody to kind of do their thing so they can get back to us. While we are waiting for that, focus on you. So be patient be patient. And how to do that is by focusing on what your needs are in the moment, being you in the moment, and not, rushing the situation because, you're not focusing on yourself, right? Focusing on your needs. Now, the high priestess is showing up here as the underlying energy, saying that you need to definitely trust your intuition, but most of all, take little to no action. Okay? And that pretty much means it's like no need to assert yourself because you already did everything that you need to do. You've got all that done, right? It doesn't make you weak or soft for being, vulnerable and reciprocal, hopefully that's the right word, or open to receiving. And I think this is one of those things. See yourself in nature. Be patient rather. It's talking about putting yourself in a state of openness, being willing to receive the happiness that you guys are trying to manifest in your life. The only way for that to come in is if you're open to it. And the high priestess is saying it's time to trust your intuition, time to do all these things. And most importantly too, the underlying energy, it can also talk about as well, some things that may not be very clear, may not be very open. Some of you guys may be dealing with someone that's very secretive, or maybe you guys have been, are feeling very secretive at this moment, or you're not really communicating in a way that expresses the problems that you guys may be experiencing right now in your relationships. Maybe you believe that the peace can be retained if you just keep it shut, Some of you guys are like, hell no with that. I can sense it right now. Some of you guys are like, that's not me. That's not how I see things. Some of you guys are like, yeah, I don't really feel like if I communicate what I feel is going to go very well. Let's see why we have the high priestess underneath here, because the 10 of wands and the 4 of wands. All right. So I think it took a lot of work to get to where you guys are in your relationship. And the burden that you guys are carrying with the secret is honestly quite troublesome, which is why I feel like this see yourself in nature card is definitely coming up, because you have to be you. Now, taking little to no action in a sense of like being assertive and going out and getting stuff is pretty much what I mean. But I don't think that the high priestess is coming in here to advocate, hey, do nothing, you know? I feel like it's saying it's do nothing in regards to relationship, like if you, as far as putting in work into it. I feel like you have to now be yourself. You have to be you. You have to just be your authentic, beautiful selves without any judgment, without worry about judgment or anything, you know? And considering that this reading is already starting off with the whole be patient and see yourself in nature, I kind of get the sense of with the moon and the high priestess and the moon coming up like this, is that there's some things that you're not open about, or this other person isn't open about, and you're either you know that this person has a secret and is bringing up a lot of old issues and is triggering you, and even though you would love to just get them to just say whatever it is that's keeping their secret at bay, you have to be patient and show that, hey, you can be trustworthy, you can be open to receiving, but you have to attend to your needs first, right? It's really interesting because that's what I get from it. I feel like for some of you guys, there's somebody that's got a secret, something that they did, they deeply want to tell you something, or they deeply, have something that's eating them away. And then instead of saying it, they have to kind of prove to themselves that you can be either trusted, or that, that you can be let in, this person has to be okay with that vulnerability for themselves, and it triggers you to some way, and you're taking it personally when it has nothing to do with you, I think. I don't think that the situation that this person's going through has anything to do with how you and them interact. I feel like, because with the Three of Swords, it's a past energy. And unless you guys have been in a relationship for, long enough to develop issues like this, I don't think that this has much to do with you. I think this may have to do with their upbringing. It may have to do with their, may have to do with their past relationships before you, the relationship before you. And maybe there's some things that are hurting them still, that are keeping them from being able to feel comfortable enough to communicate that with you. And understanding that, it's, I feel like for a lot of you guys, you're having to kind of like resist the urge to just kind of like get to the problem and figure out what you need to do to help them heal. And honestly, whatever you're triggered by with them keeping that secret, and it could be that, past secrets and before maybe have gotten to a place where, you guys have had, bitter issues or whatever, right? The Three of Swords, you have your own situation that you have to look at, and that's why, that's why it's so important to just focus on yourself right now, especially when someone is not comfortable with coming out with a secret. I don't think there's a third party situation, but I do think this is something that's definitely painful for this person to come out with. Then, that being said, this could literally be you. You could have an issue with communicating with the person that you're with right now, not because they are the problem, but because you're you're trying to figure out and heal from the pains that you've experienced in the past. And you don't really know if you can really allow that person into your life after everything you've experienced here. Okay? And now, even though what was great was that this person came back into your life, old issues are starting to creep up. And the secrecy on your part, if this is you, right? If this is not your partner, the secrecy that exists is mainly to protect yourself. It has nothing to do with being deceitful or manipulative or of any sort. It's strictly because you're trying your best to do the best for yourself as you can. But that sort of resistance to things, that sort of closed up portion of yourself, it's not necessarily helping the situation either. It's keeping the problem at bay. Okay? Now, for some of you guys, there may be problems with intimacy. There may be problems with having children. There may be problems with, creation. Or there may be issues where in relationships, you find yourself in a situation where either something happens where you get too comfortable and somebody takes advantage of you, or you end up taking care of everybody else and no one takes care of you. There's something going on here with the Three of Swords regarding the Empress, right? Either somebody in the past have hurt you deeply, and it's hard to be able to walk away from that, hard for you to forget that, and nobody's telling you should. It's mostly because the biggest thing that I feel like is looking at is like being honest about what this pain is and being able to overcome that pain. I feel like for some of you guys had a second chance at something. Maybe you guys gotten back together with somebody, a certain individual, And this relationship that was their prayer is back, which is why the Three of Swords is coming up. But I feel like for a lot of you guys, you're realizing that a lot of this stuff is your own personal issues, your own personal things that you hadn't been able to overcome. Well, not haven't been able, but you just, they haven't really struck a chord until like today. Or maybe they always have, and this is now the opportunity, this is like bringing it to your front door. Again, it could be that too, that you guys got back together with someone and the same problems of that relationship is coming back up, and you're having a hard time with the secrecy of this person, pretty much not coming out, or not communicating what their truth is, and it's bringing up a lot of those old problems again. There's so many ways to read this, right? But I feel like for a lot of you guys, you're dealing with somebody in this relationship that's not open to communicating their feelings, not yet anyway, mostly due to insecurities, mostly due with fears, mostly due with discomforts of the past situation of where they were open before, or maybe they have been open before, and they have been shut down. They've been hurt. They've been somebody, they may have been, really badly, devastated in that area of being, of trusting that person with certain information. But that doesn't mean that the problem is going to go away by ignoring it. And I think you guys realize that. But the situation is that it's going to require a lot of patience to deal with somebody like this. Not because that they're difficult on purpose, but because they just need that sort of compassion and love, as well as you do. I do kind of feel like because the old issues from maybe this past relationship, or this relationship that you have with this person, either this is someone that you're already in a relationship with, maybe this is someone that you've been in a relationship with before, or this is someone that's brand new, but they're bringing up, but this is an opportunity in love, right? So you may have similar situations from the past relationship come up to this, and you're like, damn, these problems always follow me. These problems always come up and plague my relationships. And it may, like I said, before I say this is not about blame. This is not about you being the problem. It's about taking the power in the relationship and doing what you want to do with it, the way, and live your life the way you want to live, by recognizing where you may be disenfranchising yourself, or maybe where you may be putting yourself in a situation that does not reap the benefits of positive feedback from your relationship. So, and again, understand that it's not blame, it's not your fault, and nor that do you deserve it, but everything has its consequences to the way that we act. For instance, that we could be assertive and aggressive with people, but that doesn't mean that someday or something out of those, some time out of all that, expression, someone else may come into the mix and may give us a response that we just don't like, or we continue to do something we don't like. So the only way for us to change situations is by changing ourselves. Not that we've been doing something wrong, more of like because the situation keeps coming up with the same outcome, And the Three of Swords is one of those things that does talk about that. And I feel like for a lot of you guys, it has to do with somebody that you're taking care of, someone that you're putting a lot of time and effort into taking care of and nurturing and loving and pampering way more than they probably deserve. And I'm not trying to say that this person does not deserve love, tender love, and care, because this person may have gone through some serious stuff, and that's why you're giving this tender love and care to them. However, if this is not a reciprocal thing and you feel like the situation is going back to where things used to be, where there was hardcore pains and absolutely the same apathetic situation that's going on, where you're not feeling interested in anything, it's just, there may have to be some changes that you have to make for yourself, right? If you're always going out and taking care of somebody, maybe, just maybe, the situation is calling for you to be more centered in yourself, meaning focusing mostly on yourself, which is why temperance is coming up. Now, the Four of Cups is like definitely telling us that the potential for the future, it could be that you feel more, feel emotionally drained or emotionally stunted by the relationship. Like there's not a lot of interest in anything. You're not really interested in the relationship, because not only have you gotten back in a relationship with somebody that brought up old issues again, but these issues are some things that seems to be reoccurring, and you can't seem to feel like either you can't seem to figure out what to do with them, or that there's just constant problems here. And it just always leads down to the, to the situation where you start to feel apathetic and look elsewhere for solutions, instead of looking at the self and what you need to what you want to feel or what you want to change. It's totally subjective here, right? You may have issues with taking care of yourself. It may not have to do with anything with another person. Maybe you have an opportunity to do something awesome, but the problem is that you don't take very good care of yourself. Or maybe, you indulge too much in one area. You put too much emphasis on one thing, which would make maybe pleasure, and not a lot of balance in a lot of areas. So therefore, things go out of whack. And the reason why this happens is because there may be some things that you're not necessarily, comfortable with. Old issues, old pains come up. You may have an eating disorder. The consequence of these issues coming up is a reaction that doesn't necessarily fix the problem. Okay? And I feel like taking care of yourself and overindulging can definitely, taking care of yourself and indulging is two different things. Because you can love yourself and do things that improve your health and improve, the healing process, or it could completely shelter you and keep you from not improving. But I feel like too, there could be some of you guys out here that may see these old issues in yourself and you don't give yourself enough patience for them. You're not very patient with your problems. Like maybe you give yourself a hard time or you talk negative to yourself. You treat yourself really badly. You don't give yourself a break, And of course, everybody has, is their worst critic, is their own worst critic. And I feel like you may have to apply motherly love to yourself right now, because you need more compassion than what you've been receiving from yourself in the very beginning or from anybody. So temperance is coming up as your best path to follow, to balance your life, one, and to be careful of overindulgence. To be careful of of overindulging in one area. Okay? And I kind of get the sense that there's a lot of stuff going on for a lot of you guys out here. The Three of Swords being that, it's the source issue. And there's not a lot of either compassion from your other person, or there's not a compassion from yourself. There's something going on where the Three of Swords is coming up, or these pains are coming up, and there's not a lot of compassion. Or there's not, because where it's going is apathy. Now, at the same time, it could look like here, too, that there is a recognition of there being a problem. I think the High Priestess is not only the Keeper of Secrets, but, considering that she is the Keeper of Secrets, she knows a lot of things, right? She's very aware of things. She just knows stuff. And I feel like you guys know what the problem is. And I think you guys may know that you may have to do with either taking care of yourself, having patience with yourself, the creation of things. And I kind of get the feeling that you guys already know what you guys need to do, which is to take time out for yourself, to center yourself, and to handle the situation personally, or work on a balance that doesn't ultimately leave you feeling like you guys are, constantly unbalanced. Okay, and I feel like a lot of you guys are aware of their issues and aware of why you have them, and are already on the process of working on them. And temperance, for those of you that are already working on them, is telling you to keep going. Keep doing that. Keep balancing your life out. Keep centering yourself. Keep focusing on what you need to get done for you. And no longer, don't, if you're doing that, don't worry about other people, because that person will take care of themselves as well, one way or another. That's not your responsibility right now. It's totally on you to take care of yourself. And perhaps the Four of Cups in the future would suggest that this is saying, well, you've been there, you've done that, you've finally overcome this pain, the sadness, or these past issues that come up. You overcome these, and now you're ready for the next thing, but you don't know what else is to come, because this has been your life for a while, right? This has been the kind of reoccurring situation forever, but you finally have solved it. I feel like you guys already know the solution to what this is. It's just that when you do it, you don't have anything else to do. But there's always something new to come and, and to change and to alter and to heal. And I feel like instead of looking at this as like being comfortable in your misery, which I don't think that's all of you guys. I think you guys are not necessarily comfortable in it at all. But I feel like, there will always be something new or something coming in when you're finally, you finally overcome whatever the Three of Swords is saying that's blocking right now. Now, your hopes and fears shows the Nine of Coins. It does look like you guys want to be a little more, either more isolated, but mostly you guys want to be more independent, feel a lot more stronger about yourselves, have a higher self-esteem, know your worth and know your value. And I think that the process in which you guys go on is going to strengthen that. And the beautiful thing about your outcome being the moon is that there's no predetermined anything. And I don't believe in predetermined stuff anyway, which is why I'm very careful about how I read the future. I don't really want you guys to think that this is how your future is going to turn out. I always say potential future because this is where you're coming from, where you are right now, right? Like the problem is this, and you could just get disinterested and look for something else. But this doesn't mean that this is how the future is going to go, because the moon is telling me that not only is it completely impossible to guess what you're going to do, but it's up to you, and it's in your hands to figure out how you want to go about your path forward. It's truly about following your intuition and listening to your heart at this point, and that can lead us anywhere. Because your heart doesn't have a specific ideas of what anything looks like. It's not, your heart is, it doesn't have eyes. It's about feeling what it wants to feel. And as long as you focus on what you want to feel, as long as you focus on, what you're feeling in the moment, especially when it comes to triggers that may come up with the Three of Swords, you're always going to find yourself in a situation that you can definitely start to get more comfortable in, especially if